Ready?
Yes, sir.
Let's get it.
Scotch, bourbon, and rye, yeah, we on that whiskey. Wanna discuss an array of topics, conversation simply. Gonna drop your whiskey bars with the sip hitting fold. Could you pass it? You want more? Another glass, let it flow. Steady pour. Steady pour. Yeah, a steady pour. A steady pour of growing, a steady pour of sharing, a steady pour of knowing. Now pass that Glen Carry. So pull up a chair, grab a glass, and enjoy a melanin-infused perspective with a whiskey twist. Yeah, yeah, a steady pour.
Yes, sir. You're listening to another episode of a Steady Pour podcast. I'm your poor coach, Drew.
Cow.
Tony, what's up?
Darius.
And we are your co-hosts. Excited to be here
Yes, sir.
because we got something really dope that we should have done a long time ago.
A long time coming.
I mean, yeah, 8 seasons in.
Yeah. I mean, Tone, what's the first word in our intro?
Is it bourbon? No, it's not bourbon. It's not rye.
Is that right?
It's Scotch.
Scotch. Did we drink Scotch?
Have we reviewed a Scotch?
Not a single Scotch had we reviewed on it.
I think we
Not
tried one, maybe.
I don't think it was a Scotch.
No, that's true,
I
yeah.
think. Did we even do it an American single malt?
We've done none on camera, I don't think. We've tried to.
It's embarrassing, is what it is.
We're lying to the people, man.
Yeah.
We're lying to the people.
Yeah, we say Scotch, bourbon, and rye. Yeah, we on that whiskey. Well,
Right.
bourbon and rye we are. With Scotch, we gotta.
We need some help.
We got some catching up to do.
So we got a special guest.
Yes,
So we
sir.
got-
To help
we
us do this because we can't do this. We can't just jump in cold turkey
Definitely
without.
not.
You know what I mean? I mean,
We know nothing.
yeah. So we got a special guest. So you might know him in the whiskey streets.
Speak on it.
Doing
Speak on
his the host of the speed tasting and blind flight show.
Okay.
Yes.
You might know him as a certified bourbon steward. He's a member of the Spirit Animal Society. And his name is Whiskey Chronicles.
Yeah,
Whiskey,
check that spelling.
Yes, whiskey with the Y, whiskey with the EY.
you go.
That's on purpose because he's into Scotch.
Yeah.
Just as well as he's into bourbon. So we had to bring him on the show.
Who we got?
Welcome to the show. We got Will. What up, homie?
Will in the building. The crowd goes wild.
Thank you for having me.
Hey, good to have you, man.
The applause. We love it.
Wow.
What's up, brother?
Yeah, we're excited to have you, man, because we see you on IG having fun, connecting with folks, enjoying the whiskey, enjoying just them in general, interviewing questions.
Yeah.
Some of those questions be random. I don't know where you get them from,
Yeah.
but it's just a way to connect. It's almost like ice breaking and
It's
connecting
different.
with
I
folks,
like
right?
that. Yeah.
And so we were like, you know what? I think this is a guest we need to have to help us through the Scotch journey
That
because
we've been missing.
yes, he's not going to be a drill sergeant about it, but he's knowledgeable and he can break us in easily. So that's why we wanted to have you on the show, man. So we're excited to have you.
Yes, sir.
Thank you. I mean, I'm looking forward to the tasting. Like, if this is truly your first entry into Scotch, I'm curious, right? For bourbon drinkers, I'm curious if you walk away with like better appreciation, or even more like, hey, I like that, I'm going to buy that, or something along those lines. So that's my goal here today. So
Yeah.
thank you guys
Awesome.
again for having me.
Yeah.
Hey, all right.
'Cause
We're
I'm not-
game.
Yeah, because I'm not going to lie. I definitely skipped right over that Scotch section when I walked into that store.
Usually when I hit the Scotch, I go back to it. Like, I'm in Scotch now. I went too far. I went too far.
Johnny Walker, no, let me walk my way back to the
Yeah,
bourbon.
Johnny Walker, Game of Thrones one.
No. Game of Thrones? No. We don't mess with those no more.
They got a lot of them, though. You see that out all the time, right?
No, yeah,
That
we
Game
were
of
talking
Thrones
about that.
joint?
I have the Song of Ice. Oh my God, the bottle looks amazing. Beautiful bottle.
Okay.
What's inside the bottle though is not very beautiful. It tastes hard. I don't want to say horrible because you might like it. I don't know. You might. Do you have the Song of Ice?
I had it, so I had it. That was a long time ago.
Did you enjoy it?
It's all right.
It was. So what we have here though, I'm assuming is much better than that.
Yeah.
I think so.
So, Will, if you could just start us off with just telling our listeners and us, like, how did you get into the whiskey in general? And did you start with Scotch, or did you start with bourbon, or a little bit of both?
Yeah. So long story short, we'll put it back into, I went to business school out in St. Louis in 2010. And, I met some adult guys back then, and we're just like, we're in business school now. We're going for a master's. We got legit. So, we just like, okay, let's go buy some bottles like Macallan 12, right? So way back when we're near and true to my heart.
Yeah.
It's something that we're going to be tasting.
Nice.
And, we felt adults because we were drinking Scotch back then. That kind of morphed till I'm just drinking Scotch. Like, I enjoyed Scotch. And as we traveled, I was kind of always kept a handful of Scotch on hand. I didn't really enter into bourbon. The bourbon that I had was kind of the low end bourbon. You just kind of, you get a bad taste in your mouth and you kind of put it off. Right? So, just kind of moving on. I was just like, oh, wow, there's some pretty good Scotches here. And then when we went back to St. Louis, my wife went back and got her master's out there too. We realized there was a whole bunch of whiskey bars out there. It's like, okay, I found a friend, somebody that was just like really interested in whiskey too. We're like, okay, let's just hit up all the whiskey bars. Let's try all of these things. Yeah. And that's when I was like, okay, now my collection moved from 10 bottles to 30 bottles. It's kind of available there.
It happens quick.
It really does.
Real quick, but it was very much like I consume it and it's done. I go, you didn't need a whole bunch of them, and you're kind of keeping them just for that one night. You're just like, I kind of want to relax. I kind of want a good drink.
Yeah.
Nice.
Lo and behold, pandemic, we moved out. We moved from Arkansas out to Seattle, and then, pandemic, you're just kind of sitting at home. You don't know what the hell you're going to do. You're like, I like whiskey. So
That sounds
why
familiar.
don't I try some more? Yeah. And then that's when I hopped on Instagram and I just started meeting people. They're like, oh, there's this bourbon. You probably like it. So here's some pinhook that you should try or something, whatever it was back then. And I was like, okay. So that started me on collecting. And the reality of it is bourbon was just more fun to collect because if you think about it, Scotch doesn't make all the fancy good Scotch, all those special editions don't necessarily make it out to the US, right? They get sold over there.
Right.
So,
That's a good
bourbon
point.
actually was fun to collect in some sense. You're like, oh shit, like I'm not going to see this. So let's pick it up. Or, free time plus just like collecting behavior.
Yeah.
Pick up stuff, right?
Gotcha.
Lo and behold, you get some stuff.
That's awesome, man.
Are you just
Detrimental
collecting them, or are you opening the bourbon bottles? Or are you just
Are you a Drew
Are you a Drew or are you a Tony? And Drew doesn't open usually. Tony
He's getting
opens on
better,
his own.
but I open everything
For
up.
perspective, what that means.
Right.
I wait until I have company come over to open certain bottles.
Which he never invites
I
us
haven't
over
had
to.
an invite in 3
That's
years, so I don't
Right.
know
Well,
what.
that's
Yes. So back to the question: are you a Drew just collecting them, or are you a Tony collecting and opening them and tasting them?
Like immediately.
I'm not an immediate opener, so I'm probably going to be more like Drew.
You're
Oh, wow.
Okay. All right.
With that
Look,
said,
Drew's happy. Look.
It just means he's intentional with when he opens the
Oh, here
bottle.
we
He's
go.
intentional about
Yeah.
it.
Whatever you say.
that's for real. You realize once you get to a big collection, you're just like, all right, I'm not going to drink all this by myself,
Right.
right? And you make a moment of it, right? So I get where you're coming from, Drew. It's just like, okay, fine. With that said, I do open some stuff. There's at least 100 bottles open. And that's a lot
well,
of
you're not
bottles.
him then.
Yeah, I'd say there's about 100 bottles open.
Yeah.
Oh, never mind. I stand correct. We stand correct.
There's just
Yes.
another 50% of them that aren't.
He's somewhere in the middle. He's somewhere in the
there you
middle.
go. There you go.
He's a cross between them both. That's what it is.
Well, the issue that I have is once it's open, I tend to distribute very kindly.
Liberally.
Right? So, liberally. I was like, oh, yeah, I mean, I need to send my guys at Estate 4 some more Scotch after this, right?
Yeah,
Like, I
hey,
need to
hey,
get Tone on for speed tasting.
There you go.
All of this
Yeah.
happen. But the reality is, like, again, it's just when it opens, I just feel like it degrades, right? Oxidation, vapor
True,
loss, all
right.
that stuff does truly happen if you're not taking care of your whiskey properly.
Right.
But at the same time, it's just like, it's just sitting there, man. It looks kind of sad. I don't know if Drew's had this before. Let me just send it to him.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Distribute
there you go.
away.
Right.
Distribute away, man.
Send them samples out. That's
Send
what
them
I
out.
love doing that, man, for sure.
Now, I
Yeah.
will admit, more and more, I've noticed that after that, like 50% gone, it definitely changes the flavor.
Yeah.
Like a lot. The more it sits, like if there's like a quarter of your bottle left, it's like every day it tastes different.
Yeah.
Every day. It's,
Once you
it's
reach
kinda
that
wild.
halfway point, it's
Yeah,
like
pretty much. It's just wrap that up.
it's never going to be the same.
Just finish that
Halfway
bottle
point
up.
is like still within, I think, a year, 6 months to a year or something.
Yeah.
Pretty much it, unless you got the pump and you're taking all the air out,
Right.
nitrogen or whatever they use.
Imagine doing that for all your just going through your bottles every night. Let me just get this oxygen out of here. Somebody's out there doing that. And not,
Or
not
they're
I.
just drinking it.
I mean, the folks with the fancy, let's say 30-year-old Scotch or whatnot, or your Eagle, Eagle Rare 17 or whatever. They probably have the technology. We'll say.
That's
I mean,
Absolutely.
they spent that kind of money on it, then I'm going to preserve this as long as possible so it can taste the way it needs to taste.
Vacuum seal that.
Definitely.
Nice.
So you started out with Scotch and then you went to bourbon. So it was Scotch to bourbon. Okay. But every now and then you go back to Scotch?
I find myself drinking Scotch generally more frequently. Like again, like I'll pull a Scotch down any day. One, because it's probably low proof. I don't drink too many low proof bourbons. But Scotch always kind of hits the spot. It's kind of where you start, right? If you think about your journey, you guys didn't touch Scotch to begin with, so clearly you're not gonna have a flavor. You have to develop a flavor for it in some sense, right? So that's where I was like, but I got a lot of bourbon.
So,
My Scotch disappears faster, so that's the problem. It's like Scotch looks really tiny right here, and that's just because I drink it, and those bottles disappear. The bourbon and all the other stuff is like
it just sits there. Are you saying that lower proof Scotch you prefer more than lower proof bourbon? Is what you're saying?
Ooh, that's a good question.
Yeah.
Really?
Yeah.
Interesting.
I would say in general, just like an easy drink, right? So a relaxing drink, or just I kind of want to drink. I don't need anything too hot, so I'll probably go Scotch just for
The taste.
I'm not. You're going to find out through the course of this. I was like, I don't really care too much for the sweet. And as we go through this, you'll probably notice that it's going to be a little bit less sweet than your typical bourbon.
Interesting.
Okay.
Interesting.
Interesting.
Are there any higher proof Scotch
I
out
was
there?
gonna ask
like
that,
high
too.
proof.
That's a good
up
question.
They do. So like I've got a couple right behind me. They're usually independent bottlers. So you have stuff like Old Particular or Old Malt Cask, and they have Single Malt Whiskey Society too as well.
Okay.
Scotch Malt Whiskey Society. They do. They buy up barrels and then they bottle it themselves. So this one's 55.6, right? So 110 proof.
Okay.
Oh,
I don't
okay.
think I've
That's
seen anything
decent for
past-
us.
I don't think I've seen them Scotch
right.
that high. I'm curious to how that
Yeah.
tastes.
Right.
And
I don't
it's
know if
mostly
there's
going
anything
too.
like 120. This
Really?
one's 113.
So
Okay.
do you enjoy those, or does that burn your palate out as far as a high proof Scotch?
I do enjoy those. Like there are some cask strengths that are pretty good. They're
Okay.
pretty limited releases too.
Gotcha.
It's just like the reality of it is like you get more of that full flavor, right? So
Yeah.
nothing wrong with it. Once you get into drinking bourbon at 115, 125.
Yeah, or
hazmat.
hazmat or whatever.
Right.
Wow.
Got you. Okay. Interesting.
That's dope. That's dope.
Yeah.
Well, I think we should just jump right into it now.
Yeah. What should we start with?
Go with the Dewars, man. Dewars.
All right.
Okay.
Okay.
Do as it is.
Let's do it.
And that's the oldest one, right? This is the
Go ahead.
18
It is.
years.
Freaking
I'm
LD.
excited to open these bottles, man. I was gifted the Dewars and the Glenfiddich by a friend of mine. And I didn't really, I'm not a Scotch guy. He's like, you want these bottles? I was like, okay.
I'm not going to turn.
I'm not
down.
going to,
Oh,
turn it down.
he's got-
so-
Hold up.
I mean, I can talk about the Dewars.
Yeah.
I haven't tasted it yet, so like I
Okay.
said, you got an older bottling there. I don't know how old it is, but clearly from a cork break, it's probably
Yeah.
pretty old.
That's a sign, right? So this
Jesus.
is a new bottle to you, Will? You've never had
Yeah,
an 18?
Yeah,
Wow.
I've never had it. I've never had Dewars aside from the white label you buy on the airplane, and you drink it, and you're just like, that's the white label Evan Williams or what.
Got you. Okay, all right.
So so I'm excited to try it because there's one guy on Instagram, Brian D Whiskey. He's actually a Dewar. So I didn't actually really know about Dewars. I knew about it, but I never purchased one. And then I was like, okay, I'll pick up this 18-year to.
So that's his
honor-
family whiskey company or legacy?
Yeah, so they
Wow.
sold it off.
Okay.
Dewars is actually under Bacardi, I believe, right now.
Oh, interesting.
So Bacardi is their parent company, but it's just a long lineage of their family that runs through, and
Okay.
then they own a handful. Like if on my bottle here, it actually tells you the different single malts that are contributing in here. So you'll notice the Aberfeldy, Macduff, Royal Bracula, Craigellachie, and Altmore, right? So they've got 5 different distilleries putting in because this is a blended whiskey. So that's why we're starting off with a blend too as well.
Okay.
The other 2 are going to be single malts, or the other 3 that we'll get to is single malts.
Got you.
So 1 distillery.
The Dewar's is a blend. You know what it's a blend of?
He just told us the different distilleries that blend.
Oh, okay. Got you.
The thing that they say is blended whiskey tends to be a little bit more smooth. And by smooth, I take it, we play around with the word smooth a lot. And, smooth sometimes we'll say it's maybe lackluster because it's so smooth. Like if you've had a Johnny Walker Blue, it's smooth, right?
Okay.
Yeah, I'm going to pay $200 for something that's smooth and it doesn't have the viscosity or the flavors or the complexity. So that's why I was just kind of like, let's go
Good
this
one to
way
start
first, because to me it makes sense. And I would be surprised if it wasn't, let's say, less flavorful than the other 2 or 3 that we're going to have. This is my guess, right? This is the first time I'm having that.
So this is not finished, right? Like some of the others that had like a sherry finish.
Yeah. So we'll talk about that too as we go through single malts. But it just depends on. There's no finishing. It just depends on what barrel they throw it in, right? And it's very likely ex-bourbon.
Gotcha.
The other 2 that we're doing, the Macallan, is going to be exclusively Oloroso sherry. Right? So it's that 12 years in Oloroso sherry. And the Glendronach is going to be PX sherry, which is a sweeter one. They dry the grape first.
Gotcha.
So sweeter one plus Oloroso.
Okay.
All right.
Okay.
It's very interesting.
Get that peaty note.
I know.
That's what it is.
scares me, man.
That's what it is. Right from the jump.
I'm getting a golden graham, a smoked golden graham.
A smoked golden graham.
That's interesting.
Yeah. I can respect it.
I'm getting tuna.
What?
Tuna?
Albacore? What man said? Fish of the sea?
Now
Chicken of
Chicken of
the
the
sea.
sea? That's what I meant.
All right. Jessica Simpson.
Some vanilla, I guess.
Yeah, I was gonna say
nectarine.
the honey vanilla. I get that
Honey,
the sweetness.
Yeah.
But now this tuna is like
I know. That's all
setting my mind.
I'm sorry. I apologize.
Did you have tuna for lunch, man?
Yeah, that's what it's gotta be something else.
No, it's that peatiness always reminds me of like salt water, like that salty kind of smell to it.
Okay.
I don't know if there's too much peat, right? So it might just be the barley, and sometimes I kind of equate some of that to the malted barley. Right?
Okay.
So, when you're talking about malted barley, your malted barley, they allow to germinate, right? So it has sprouts before they dry it, and it has all the enzymes to basically work and help bourbons and whiskeys all be created. So sometimes I wonder if it's that. There's some saltiness behind it.
Yeah.
But like the peaty it might be more of a heavy smoke, and I don't think so. It might be lightly peated at best.
Well, for us, any peat is heavy peat.
Well, and that's why I'm curious, right? So the other 2 things that you're going to try, the other 3 are going to be more in the Highland region. So there's 5 different regions of Scotland, and they produce kind of their own styles. I mean, they can do different things, but they produce their kind of style. And some are like Isla are heavily peated,
Right.
Are peated.
Oh, interesting.
And then Lowlands tends to do like a triple distillation, so those are smooth. On my bottle, it says that there's some Lowlands, some Highlands, and some Stay-sided. Right?
Okay.
So it's kind of a combination of 3 regions.
We're only going up from here, is what he's saying.
To the bottom.
This
But again, it's my profile, and it's kind of like what I like. So I'm curious, right? So as we go through this, I'm going to actually be looking at your faces and being like, okay, he likes that, or like if it's a miss on all 4, that'd be
Right.
Interesting.
cruel and be sad. I can trick you too.
He tried to convert us.
I'm not sending you guys any samples.
I've never said this, but there's a bit of a journey just on the nose.
Wow.
Yes.
It's definitely a journey on the nose.
Dude, are you a Scotch guy? He
just
loves
on the
the journey,
nose.
Will. I mean,
No, there's a lot going on here.
yeah,
There's
he
a
loves
lot
the journey.
going on here.
So there is a lot going on.
Like for sure. And I agree. I think I've smelled peatier. If that's a word, peatier. Scotch. It's been Scotch is more than this.
it was peaty, your whole room would waft of it, man.
Yeah.
It's just like my
okay.
wife is just like, you opened a peated Scotch, didn't you? I was like, yeah, sorry.
Maybe it's just because it's Scotch. Something there's that note that we're smelling. That's like we know it's
Yeah.
Scotch. We assume that automatically it's just peaty. That's peaty that we're smelling, but it's something else that's there that associates with Scotch.
Maltiness or like,
Yeah.
gritty, earthy, something like that. So
Right.
So I am getting some vanilla there. I'm getting some sweet notes as well.
I already started.
Yeah, I just tasted
I
too.
haven't tasted it at all yet. I've been smelling the whole time.
I'm not getting as much of that peat that I thought I was gonna get. Maybe because it's like the blend
it's
that
not
you're talking
really
about.
peat.
Right? Because it's a blend of all these different distillers.
And that
it's-
barley. Definitely
Yeah,
getting
definitely
that
getting that
malt.
barley.
Oh yeah, the malt's in there.
Malt's all there.
I mean, it's all right. It's all there.
Yeah.
It's definitely better.
100%.
Right. It's the single part.
Actually, this one on mine it says there's some grain whiskey in here too, which
Oh,
I
really?
don't know which distillery. Yeah, so it says single malt and grain whiskeys from these. So,
Okay.
I don't know. Check your bottle there. So they might throw some grain in there.
All right.
No, double age blended Scotch whiskey. I don't see anything about grain on this one.
That's because it's like 30 years old, man. You just
Yeah. This is the OG right here. Yeah.
Just says doubled aged and reserved oak cask.
I'm not gonna lie. It's kind of tasty.
It's not bad. That's what I'm saying.
Not
you know?
bad, right?
Yeah.
Definitely better than
Smooth,
that
right?
Johnny Walker Song of Fire and Ice, 100%. No offense
That
to
was
Johnny
a bad,
Walker.
that was a bad
Apologize.
one to start with, Darius.
Yeah, that's like the one of the two that I've tried of
Yeah.
scotches
Yeah.
outside the Macallan, which is pretty good.
Yeah, Johnny Walker's also a blended Scotch whiskey. Right?
Okay.
So it's also a blend, and then they tend to like if you do the 15-year, the green label, it actually has more peaty notes. So it's actually
Johnny
kind
Walker
of a good one.
They have a rye as well, don't they, Johnny Walker? A green label?
Yeah, they did do some rye.
I think they have a green label
yeah.
that I did enjoy. That I definitely enjoyed.
Okay, I haven't tried that one.
That's the rye guy right here.
Yeah, I mean, it said rye on it, so I gotta try
If it
this.
says rye, there's a good chance he's gonna love it.
That I enjoyed.
Nice.
No, this is not bad though.
But
it's actually
Yeah, I get it.
so.
You want to go into our ratings?
Yeah, we could. Do we have
Well,
to? should we
you're
explain?
familiar. Yeah, well, you're familiar with our rating system.
I mean, I might have listened to a couple episodes before I hopped on here, just to figure out all your names. But,
Will, hey,
yeah.
Will shows us a lot of love on IG, man. He's commenting on our stuff. He's,
Appreciate you, bro.
I
We
appreciate
appreciate
Will, man. He's always giving us love. That's dope.
Yeah,
But we could run through it real
But
quick.
yeah, let's run through the rating system. Darius, you want to start us off?
Yes, we start off with the 1 ounce, which is just like one and done. Like you try it, it's like you tried it for that one time, and
That's enough.
you can have the bottle, you give it away, you throw it away, you pour it down the drain. It's a wrap.
Keep it on your shelf and say, I got this song on fire.
If it looks nice, if the bottle looks nice,
it.
then yes, keep it on your shelf. Other than that, you're done with it.
Yeah, and 2 is like cocktail. Maybe you could save this. It may taste good in a cocktail, but that's about it. I'm not going back to this on a straight pour.
A 3 ounce pours. I'm not mad at it. Like that, it's a solid pour. I'm not mad at it.
4 ounce pour is give me some more. I just kind of keep them coming. But these are fill me up again.
And then a 5 ounce pour is a
steady pour.
Yeah, that's
The top
that's
top
of the line.
top. Need all of that.
So with that said, Cal, do you want to start us off with
With the Dewar's 18?
yeah?
Okay.
How much of a pour you giving Dewars?
I am going with a 3. I'm going to go with the 3.25. And the reason why I'm going to go with a 3.25 is initially I wanted to be like, oh, okay, that's not bad, right? Another way of saying I'm not mad at it, right? And I have a feeling that I'm kind of being a little extra harsh on it just because I'm not a big Scotch person. So I'm giving it that extra quarter to like make up the difference in my harshness.
Yeah.
You know what
I feel
mean?
the same thing. Yeah, I
Because
do.
it's tasty. It
is.
Like, no lie. If somebody handed it was like, oh, I'm kind of a Scotch drinker. I have this Dewar's. You're interested? Yeah. Yeah, I'm interested. I will take some of that. So yeah, I'm not mad at it.
Okay. I'll go next. I'm gonna give it a 2.5 ounce pour.
Okay.
When I first had the first sip, I was like, man, wow, that was sweet. And then I wanted another swig or taste of it, and I had it, and then I realized like the mouthfeel, there wasn't much of any. The finish, that had to be the most like shortest finish I've ever had. Because I wanted to taste more of what I had in that initial sip, and I couldn't get it. Like the more actually I tasted it, the less I was tasting. It was kind of it was weird. It was like it kept disappearing as I was putting it. You know, not in terms of the flavor.
Where because the proof's not. This is the 80s. This is 80 proof.
But the crazy part is, like, I had it on that first sip. I was like, it was there, and I was like, oh, let me try it again.
Because it's like a 30-year-old bottle.
We're rooting for you.
Did you have the neck pour?
But I think I would certainly get a bottle for like someone that's like. Someone new to Scotch that wants to taste it, just to sort of maybe prime their palate, or just to say that, you know, I've intro to Scotch. I think that was a pretty solid pour. There wasn't a lot going on, like I said before, but there was some initial sweetness. There was like, oh, okay, but then it's like there wasn't anything left there after that. So I'll give it a 2.5.
All right.
I'll go next. I think it's a 3 for me, man. I think it's solid. I'm not mad at it at all. Like I said, I got worried with that peatiness on the nose, like that. Just that, you know, not being a Scotch guy, you get that smell, and you're like, like here we go.
Scotch.
I smelled that before.
It's not caramel vanilla, is what you're saying.
I know,
Right.
Although that is there, but you have to get past the peatiness, right? I think
Or smokiness, or barley, or maltedness.
Whatever
the Scotch ingredients is what you're talking about. You
For
gotta
me,
get
it's
past.
just like I have to learn to kind of like navigate through that and say, okay, what are the other flavors that I'm getting like on top of that? But the taste to me, like that peatiness goes away, or whatever that note was. That is not the predominant note. It's very smooth. It's sweet. Not overly complex, like Drew said. But I just think it's a solid pour, man. Like I will take another pour of it right now. It's not bad. I know it's a blend, and there's probably I'm sure there are other better scotches out there, but it's solid to me. I think it's I'm not mad at it at all.
I didn't say it was overly complex or not overly.
No,
it wasn't complex at all.
Right.
From that aspect.
But I'm also wondering, is that a characteristic of Scotch? Like maybe Scotch doesn't have the crazy journeys that bourbon
this is
has.
80
I don't know.
It was complex on the nose.
I don't know.
But hold on, wait. This is still a low proof.
Will's like, wait a minute.
He
There's
showed
some journeys.
Wait, this is only the first.
That's right.
The first one.
Very first.
Right.
We're not.
I don't know. I'm just saying we don't know.
I think
I'm just saying we don't know. Scotches can be, we're dealing in a different realm here. Okay,
I think that's
we're in
why
the quantum verse.
You're
I don't
not
know
casting judgment except exactly what we do on this show.
No, but I think to the point, that's why it's so hard to judge it, because we haven't had so many, so we don't know what to really compare it to.
Right.
To Kyle's point, like I don't want to be too harsh on it,
Right.
Because
And then taste something
Well, no.
amazing and be like,
No, Tone said I'm not casting judgment on all of Scotches. He was just
Right.
talking about the specific
one.
one that we
Exactly.
I got you.
had, right?
but
And
even with that, it's like
and approaching it from again bourbon rye palate.
Right,
So
exactly.
we're
Pretty
just,
objective.
man, we should have even rated them. We should have just tasted all of
Yeah,
them and then
I
rated at
agree.
the end. Because now I just feel like I don't really know what
No.
because we're scaling it based on the bourbon and rye that we tried. I feel
We
like
are scaling it on our individual palates, and
Yes.
that's okay.
Yes.
So, guys. So basically, if you watch my show, I because I'm sending blinds out, and it's the first time people are tasting this. My goal is to get new pours. I was like, you either like it, you love it, or it's meh.
Right.
I was like, I'm guessing across the board, you guys like it. It's not Johnny Walker or Song of Fire or whatever. Right?
no, definitely not that. Definitely, I couldn't even finish that. It was so bad.
yeah.
This is not that. I guess it's my turn to rate it.
Yeah.
To Kyle's point, like I don't want to rate it harshly because we haven't had many scotches, and I found myself doing that because
Give the sympathy rating. Come on.
Yeah,
man. Just
because-
tell her what your palate. What is it? Go ahead. My bad.
first of all, the initial nose I don't agree with everybody. I don't think it was too peaty. Like I did get some notes from it. I did enjoy it. I think it was a really complex nose. I enjoyed what I was smelling. The initial taste was definitely better than what I've tried in different scotches. But to everybody's point, that was it. It was the taste, and then that was it. It was just done. It's like you're just drinking like juice or something like that, and you just drink it. No, not that. That's probably a bad comparison, but it's like you taste it, and then it's it. You're done. It's gone. And you tried some more, and there was like no finish, there was no journey there. It's just the initial flavor is all it was, and I enjoyed that initial flavor. So with that being said, I'm probably gonna go 2.75 for me. I'm gonna go 2.75 as far as what I would go with it.
All right.
Yeah.
You ever have like Capri Sun? You ever give a kid a Capri Sun?
Yeah.
And you try to switch it up and have him give it to him honest, the honest drink?
Oh yeah.
Honest apple juice?
Yes, exactly. And because it dissipates, like the flavor is like almost there. But
But my son has never had Capri Suns though. I've only given him honest drink. So he might not even know
All
that
he
taste.
knows is Scotch.
All he knows is honest. So all he knows is Scotch. That's all you're gonna enjoy.
as soon as he goes to that crack juice,
He never going back to honest. What you saying?
it's not gonna taste the same.
Wow.
So don't.
Yeah, I appreciate that. That's a good analogy. That's a good analogy.
That is funny.
That's fun.
Now I'm curious to see what everything else tastes like because
I'm curious as well.
Well, I mean, it's not the exact one that we have, right? But are we getting his?
Well, we gotta get. Yeah,
I want Will's notes on it.
Oh yeah,
ratings.
yeah, go for it, Will. What do you think about this one?
Yeah, I'm actually with Darius there. I'm kind of like, okay, fine. The nose is good. The nose is actually pretty acceptable. Not heavily peated, right? You'll know if you're in a room with a heavily peated one. But as you get more acclimated with it, just probably 100% barley. As you progress through these four, I'm hoping you're just kind of like, oh, I don't notice it anymore, or at least you're not tasting heavily peated stuff. But at the end of the day, for me, it's like I actually think Darius is right. It's like it's apple juice. Right? There's no kid out there that can't hit 80 proof because you and I both, we all drink things in the 100s and we're kind of used to some stuff. It's kind of like apple juice, but there's nothing wrong. Like the statement on the bottle is like exceptionally smooth or whatever. It's like it is exceptionally smooth, and it's kind of like apple juice because it's not exceptionally smooth.
I don't feel as bad anymore.
You're spot on. There's nothing to add. It's kind of like the nose is pretty good. I tasted it and I was like, oh yeah, I mean, I can drink a bottle of this easy, right?
Yeah.
So pretty firm. Like I'll say 3. It's fine. Like I think I can share with people, and it's like, oh, you drink the standard white label. Okay, well this is a notch up from Dewar's white label off the airplane, right?
Right.
So I have a question. I know we're trying to move on to different things, but does the age statement mean anything? Like, as according,
I feel like it always means something.
Well, yeah, but I'm just asking in the Scotch game, an 18-year
This is
whiskey
18 years.
is like
You would
top of the
expect
line,
this to be
right?
like
so.
The youngest whiskey in it is 18 years,
Right.
So that doesn't mean that there can't be 20+ year whiskey in it,
Right.
So if you think about Kentucky and the variations, you're looking at 5 to 7% loss per year. In Scotland, you're losing about 1 to 2%, right?
Wow.
So that's where you can hit an 18-year, a 25-year, a Macallan 40-year, like those. They're not seeing that much loss. So that's why 18 years is like. All of that stuff here is 18 years. I don't know how old your kids are, but like this whiskey, yours specifically, Tone, is like probably 45 years now. It's probably older than you and I. Probably.
Just about. Yeah, that's right. Yeah.
My Scotch can vote.
Yeah, my daughter just turned 18, so I'm like, man.
oh my god,
That's crazy, right?
I can imagine my child.
I'm old, man. I'm old. But okay, interesting. I was just wondering, you see an age statement like that, like I said, in bourbon, and it's automatically like, oh, that's got to be, top of the line. That's
$200-$300.
That's the allocated stuff, this and that. I was just wondering if, like, in Scotch, is that like the same thing, or is it like 18 is kind of common?
That percentage points that he just pointed out, that makes a lot of sense of why the scaling of the price point changes so dramatically because 1 or 2 or 3
you get people talking about this and saying it's old and it's too oaky, right? That's kind of the difference, right? Okay, 5 to 7% loss. You're like, too oaky.
Right.
And that 5 to 7%, so like you're talking difference wise, you're talking a solid 5%.
Yeah.
So you scale that up you know, to the point of what Dewar's is producing, that's a lot of bottles lost. That makes sense of why you can find that at a cheaper price point.
That's interesting. Yeah. That's what I was wondering.
I didn't think about that.
Yeah, I was wondering what the difference was on that. So
That's nice.
okay.
They accomplished what they wanted to. It is exceptionally smooth.
It is.
100%. They did. They got that.
Smooth apple juice. Yeah.
All right, let's go on to this next one.
Like a nice glass of Mott's.
Mott's.
So the
Hey,
next-
what up? Shout out to Sober Bourbon Girl, man, for sending us these samples. Again, the liquid,
think she just
the
wanted
liquid
to
ministry
show off her bottles.
I mean, listen, they're nice bottles.
They're
man.
nicer than the last ones we got.
I'm just saying,
Go ahead,
you know.
Cal, zoom in.
blue.
Yeah, zoom in. He's not gonna zoom in, but but these,
meant
it's a
in
nice
post.
logo in post. Okay, he might zoom in post. Cal, do your work. But Sober Bourbon Girl, man. Shout out to Nakia, man. She sent us these.
It's got a gold overlay.
You know, she's got her
Gold
logo
leaf
on there.
that joint.
Uh-huh.
Oh my god.
Yeah, Liquid Ministry. We got to get some of those bottles, man. For
We
sure.
do.
Are we going to those next?
Jealous.
Or are we going to the Glen?
Yeah, we're doing
Nah, we're doing one of those
Macallan
next.
12 year.
Ooh.
Yeah.
So you got any notes on this one for us, Will?
I'm sure.
So Macallan 12 was my, like, literally the reason I started getting into whiskey.
Okay.
Right. So I'll give you, as you guys are pouring, I'll give you the story. I got three
Nice.
boys. Right.
Okay.
So my wife loves Jane Austen. Right. So the only way I could get her to agree on names is I was like, I'm going to pick a whiskey name and you're going to pick a Jane Austen name.
Wow.
For real. Yeah, we're crazy.
We're
my
crazy.
firstborn is Bennett Callan. That's where the Callan comes from.
Macallan. Okay.
Wow.
Macallan.
Macallan.
All right.
That's dope. That's
Right.
dope.
My second boy is Ryland Austin, rye whiskey.
Wow.
My third baby boy is Charles
Char.
Darcy. Char after barrel char.
Oh, Will. Yo, Will. Will's got that whiskey in
This
there.
is dedication.
Next.
He's crazy, man.
This is next level.
You know what I mean?
This is next
He said,
level.
this is legendary. This
This
is
is-
generational.
This is therapy 20 years
I gotta
from
name
now.
I gotta name my daughter Raya or something like that.
Yeah, you know? Listen, man.
Am I a whiskey enthusiast?
Am
That's
I?
crazy.
I don't know. There's levels. There's levels.
There's levels.
I would say.
You ain't got kids named after it. You're not.
Like, why'd you naming this, Dad?
That is
Well
hilarious.
said.
But they're good names.
They are
Oh,
good.
they are
Yeah.
beautiful. They're very
Associated,
beautiful
but they're
names.
not.
Very beautiful.
I didn't name my kids Tucker-Ray, so
That's good.
Alizé.
Or Glenn
Alizé.
Fittich.
Glenn Fittich. What? Glenn Fittich Lee. What? And this one is a
not
Finnish,
as
a
much as you
Finnish
think.
Scotch, right? Will?
No, so the other two that you're tasting, right, is actually going to be exclusively in sherry casks.
Exclusively.
Right, so-
Okay.
Yeah, so basically its journey, it's sat at least 12 years in these Oloroso sherry barrels,
Okay.
right? And for the both of them, and that's kind of why, Darius said he tried some Macallan in the past, right? Macallan draws a huge price point, right? And that's it's a brand name that they pushed a lot of resources behind because they chose to. Well, let me take it back a little bit. Way back when, there used to be a whole bunch of sherry that was purchased, and Scotland consumed a whole bunch of sherry.
Mm-hmm.
So, these people making whiskey at the time or making moonshine at the time, they're like, oh shit, we got all these sherry barrels, right? What the hell are we gonna do with them? Right? So they started dumping their whiskey in there, and
Nice.
that's how traditionally, I'm guessing this is hundreds of years ago, they just dumped it into sherry. So sherry is kind of like the traditional profile that you get for a Scotch whiskey. Nowadays,
Interesting.
bourbon barrels are so damn cheap, right? Charging you oak, they're just flying everywhere, so you're not actually seeing that much. So the Dewars probably had mostly ex-bourbon casks. So to truly mature in, full-on sherry casks is actually not very common anymore. So the next two that you're trying are actually going to be sherry casks, sitting in sherry casks, not a finish. But there are some other scotches that do ex-bourbon casks or some combination of, let's say, 50-50, or they'll do all bourbon casks and then they'll throw it in for 6 months to a year in sherry casks. But
Double finish,
sherry is
yeah.
going to be the traditional profile.
Interesting.
Nice.
Because I feel like sherry for bourbon or for American bourbon is like kind of like more of a specialty finish, right? Like you see some sherry. Well, we haven't tried a ton of sherry finished bourbons, right?
Tried a decent amount.
Yeah, we had
Yeah.
a
Decent
I feel
amount,
like
yeah.
sherry's pretty popular.
Right. As far as finishings go,
Yeah,
cherry's probably
sherry
one of the
cask.
most.
Yeah.
And it gives
Sherry.
you that dark fruit note.
Right.
Right.
Because that's what I'm getting on
I was
this.
gonna say I'm getting that
Right
too.
now.
A lot of dark fruit. Interesting. Okay.
I'm getting that
So-
cherry, almost raisiny.
Yeah. I'm getting all of it. Raisin,
plum.
Yeah, plum, dark fruit for sure.
cranberry.
What was it? What did you say?
I said cranberry.
Cranberry.
Cranberry. Yeah.
More crazy than cranberry.
But yeah, I was gonna say definitely more on the raisin side because I was trying to pick up what I was getting when you said raisin. I'm like, oh, that's exactly what this is, 100%,
That's nice.
and it's nice.
That is nice. I see what you mean about that what we perceive as peatiness getting kind of lesser and lesser.
Yeah,
Yeah.
Because
Yeah.
it's still
and I think
there,
that
it's
goes
just
with
not prominent.
the blend, right? So sherry finishing just kind of adds complexity and flavor, right? So I'm
Yeah.
hoping as you move through these, you're actually going to see complexity and flavor
Okay.
evolve. So I don't know. Any tasting notes or anything?
Let's
are we
taste it.
drinking?
I haven't
I
tasted
haven't.
it yet.
These past two noses have been pretty nice.
Yeah, these noses.
This
are nice.
this is pretty delicious, man. I really like how the sherry kind of blends even more. Yeah, it gives it a little bit more complexity, like you said. I'm still getting a little bit hint of the, it's you can definitely still tell it's a Scotch.
Yes.
But I like how the sherry is
Yes.
is balancing with it. It's nice.
So there are 7 types of sherries, different sherries, but Macallan is on the crazy end of the spectrum. Like I said, bourbon cask became pretty readily available and you could buy for the cheap. But Macallan actually has a master of wood that contracts with the sherry producers out in Spain, right, to get European oak. So I don't know if you know, American oak is a little bit thicker, I think a little bit denser.
Okay.
European oak is a little bit more porous. I don't remember what the numbers are specifically. And then European oak also is a little bit more tannic as well.
Okay.
Right? So
Interesting.
basically in 1981, I think the sherry producers said it can only be considered sherry if it comes from Spain. So they set up that rule. So earlier I was saying you used to send all these barrels because Scotland bought all this sherry to drink, right? And they had these open barrels. In 1981, they're like, no, I actually, we're going to make a market of it. So if you want sherry, you got to do it out in Spain, right?
Wow.
So basically so talk about it from component parts, right? What you're drinking here is single malt. It's all, you're drinking 100% barley, right? So barley is a more expensive grain. Now you take on this role of sherry casks, right? So sherry casks just being, they take, if I understand, they cut down a tree, let the tree lay there for a year to dry out. Okay, then they cut the tree into their staves, and then they let it sit there for another year to dry out.
Wow.
Then they put in sherry, not sherry for sales, not for like consumption to ship out in sherry bottles, but they let it sit with kind of like a sherry to get a profile from somewhere from like 2 to 3 years.
Wow.
Right. Then they dump all that stuff, and then finally they transport it to Scotland. Then the whiskey finally goes in, right? So you're talking new oak versus something that's been sitting there literally for 4, 5, 6 years.
Yeah.
Right.
So
Wow.
that's kind of the crazy part of the flavor, but that's how you get that first fill type of sherry flavor, right? So this stuff is not actually for consumption. They throw that sherry away for the most part, or they make sure they let it sit in there to get it into the barrel, but then they just toss it.
Is there a char process in there somewhere?
Yes, toast. I don't know specifically, but yeah,
Okay.
they probably.
But like
toasted
before they put the sherry in there, they charred.
Yeah, I'm wondering if they have to do it before. Is my guess. I don't know where it happens in the process.
I would
but they
think
have
so.
to do it. They probably know what the profile is, but they just want to get the sherry in there so the sherry can get exported to Scotland. Somebody's going to buy again. Like I don't know what the statistic is, but like a sherry barrel or sherry butt. They call them. They're big. I don't remember how big they are, but they're larger than a American standard barrel, right? Those probably go for about 10 times as much as a bourbon barrel.
Wow.
Really?
Right? So they're pretty expensive, but that's just because of the process. Like I said, the wood that goes into it, and then you're literally letting something sit in there for 2 years, and then kind of just toss it.
That's interesting.
That is interesting. It's a hell of a process.
Yep.
Yeah. So that all to say is, Macallan is great at marketing, so that's why I know that story. Right? So they tell the story like, I got a master of wood. Master of wood goes in, he checks out all of his product. It's a long story, like it sits there for 5 years, blah 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 blah. And that's where again I named my firstborn. He would have been named Callan or Macallan if I had my way, but wife said, "No, I don't want that."
She vetoed that immediately. She said, "Nope.
You get that middle name.
Right.
Nope. Nice try.
This is good, man. Anybody have any pours on it?
This is good, actually.
Yeah, I'm enjoying this. I'll go first.
Interesting.
Yeah.
Tony.
So I'm going up a half point. This is a 3.5 to me. I think it's. I love how the sherry finish adds to, the kind of taste profile we got on the first one, which is a blend, and it's different. It's hard. It's apples to oranges. I'm sure with the finishing and all that, but I to me, like, I love the blend of. It's still Scotch, I'm like Will said, I'm getting a little more acclimated to the expecting a little bit of that peatiness punch, but I just love how the sherry is playing with it. It's really good. Long finish. It's good.
Yeah.
Okay, Darius, I guess you're going next.
It's getting
Right.
That's like late night R&B. Like,
Yeah. Welcome back to Late Night with. Let me stop. No,
DJ Anderson.
I'm very conflicted. I do think this one is more complex than the first one, where it has more of a mouthfeel. But I think I like the flavor of the
Dewars.
Dewar is a little bit better, in my opinion. I don't know. I wish I had a little bit more to play around with it more. I think I'm going to just stick with the same and give it a 2.75 because I like the way it finishes better, but I like the flavor of the Dewars a little bit better, in my opinion. I like the noses are both really good. But I don't know. Something about this one is just like, I don't know if it's the Scotch. I'm trying to not let the Scotch kind of like dictate how I rate it. But I don't know. It didn't like hit me the way it hit Tony. It just didn't do that for me.
Is the sherry on the nose?
And I may not like. I may not like the sherry finish. Maybe not be a big sherry finish guy. To be honest with you,
have you tried?
I've had
remember
some,
anything? Yeah,
I've had some. I don't remember them sticking out with me. Like, yeah, this is really good. So it may also, but that probably would add it to the finish, would make it feel like more of a finish. But the sherry is. I think I may not be just a huge sherry wine guy. This is also just taken away from me.
And I didn't finish earlier, but that's where I said there's 7 different types of sherry that they can throw in there. Some with where the yeast sit on top, and there's basically different profiles for the sherry. When you get to the third one, you're actually going to get a different sherry combination.
Okay,
interesting.
Might be better or worse. I don't know.
Okay, interesting. Okay.
All right.
That's what's up.
Yeah.
You guys got any pours?
Yeah, I'm actually a little mad at this because not at this, I should say. Maybe that's not the right word I'm saying.
I feel like you like it more than you expected to.
It's exactly where I'm going with it. I actually like it more. I'm looking at this like, man, this is 86 proof. There's some flavor here. It's finishing. And part of me is like, man, I wish if it was had a little bit more oomph to it and a maybe longer finish, I would put this up there like past the 4s. But
he's got to deduct an automatic point because of the proof.
But I'm just shocked that I'm having like this.
He's conflicted.
I'm very conflicted. I'm like, wow.
Kendrick Lamar out here.
Oh, man.
I can see you were conflicted. Should write about all you.
There's a lot of good flavor happening here.
It is.
I'm enjoying this. So I'm already in the 3. I'll probably I can't believe I'm giving the 86 proof. I'm around this, but I'm going to be with you with the 3.5.
Come on, Drew, let's go.
Yeah,
it's good, man.
I'm the critic out here.
That's growth. That's not really to you. That's growth, man.
I'm proud of you. Yeah. Look at Drew. I said Drew. Look at Drew growing.
Despicable Drew, man. I'm proud of you, man. That's good.
All right, Calvin.
Cal, what you got? He's conflicted
You
as
wish you had a
well.
little bit more, don't you?
If he starts with it's too peaty, I'm gonna be on the floor.
He might. No, I don't. I think he's. Yeah.
He said he was feeling it.
It's pretty tasty.
Yeah.
I get a lot of that heavy raisin flavor on the nose and on the palate. And the palate, I was expecting it to be like to kind of throw me off of the palate, and it doesn't. It's pretty solid. I think I'm gonna go with a 3.5 also.
Let's go.
Yeah.
I think I'm gonna go with a 3.5.
Yeah.
I didn't get much of my notes, but I was getting the like the raisin. It was like a raisin. It was like a raisin fruit bread that I was tasting, and I was like, and there was some sweetness there, and then it was like the finish was leaving. I was like, wait, don't go. And then it kind of like I was like, all right, I'll stay a little bit. And then it was like, all right, I'm gonna head out now.
I gotta go.
You've had enough.
Yeah, so
I gotta go.
it was. I enjoyed that.
That's nice.
Will, what you got?
Okay. I'm at a. So I'm gonna say a 3.25.
Okay.
And that's just
I like
because. I mean, I named my kid after this. Okay. So,
Sentimental points right here.
Steady pour right there.
what I'll tell you is like Macallan 12. I used to always throw Macallan in any flight I sent out, just because I'm a big Macallan guy. You can see there's some Macallan here, right? But the Macallan I remember is so different. Not different. So Macallan for me is the quintessential cherried Scotch. It always smells the same. On the palate, though, to me is very different. So like I said, I was drinking this over a decade ago. I was like, it was really viscous. You had that mouth coating on there. You're just like the spice notes. Here you feel a little bit like it's watered down too as well. And I know my palate has evolved since then. But like I was like before, it just used to feel so luscious. It would kind of coat your tongue, and you kind of get the spice notes are there. What I will say is usually I put in a Macallan 12. But for the most part, that's why I was actually happy to have the Dewar's 18 first, because that acclimated you first. Most of the time, you just jump into a Macallan 12. You're like, damn, that's too spicy.
Yeah.
And that's what happens with my family or non-whiskey drinkers. You're like, oh, yeah, what the hell are you drinking there? Like,
Right.
It puts them off. But because you put the lower proof Dewar's, which was actually kind of a smooth entry point, which is why I think Darius, like, I'm conflicted because they're both good, but they're good in different ways. I'm still trying to figure out if Darius likes sherry. You might just, like sherry.
It's possible. Yeah.
Right.
But yeah, I wouldn't say a 3.5 just because I know what Macallan used to be like.
Yeah.
And that's just a result of the company growing and growing really fast. Like
That's what I was going to ask.
As
Yeah.
a brand.
That's interesting.
It's crazy. Like they sell 50-year-old product or 80-year-old product, and at auction it's always going for millions of dollars.
Right.
And I mean, the liquid's good. Nothing's that good.
Yeah.
I know that's right.
Facts.
Interesting. Okay. 3.25. All right. So we're all pretty similar.
Off to the next one.
Yeah. How do you say it? Is it Glendronach?
Glendronach.
It makes it so conflicting because they all have different varying degrees of
Yes, he's got it, man.
It's a mixture of the two.
Okay.
It's that raisin flavor that I like of the Macallans, but with that added little bit of sweetness, and then the fact that all of those two combined kind of trailed a little longer.
Well, keep in mind we got a Dusty. So
No, I was just going to say, we appreciate you coming on with us and leading us.
Absolutely.
Because we obviously had no idea what we were doing. So
zero.
this was a good
This is a
introduction for
great
us.
lineup.
Well, that concludes this episode of a Steady Pour podcast. Make sure you follow on Facebook,